All right, it's time to install the monorail tunnel. One of my favorite things on the entire train layout. I know it's not really trains, but I love it. All right, so these tunnels are made out of 4-inch sewer and waste pipe. It's just like PVC. The pieces on top are 2-inch, I believe, or inch and a half PVC. And on the back, I just covered it with a piece of sheet metal, painted it red, painted it black. On the inside, I have some flashing lights. They're just holiday lights. Hope you can see that. And I just hot glue them, drill some holes, hot glue in the top. You can see the hot glue there. Adds a little bit to the tunnel. The lights that aren't being used, it's a mess. I just wrap them with black electrical tape because they'll be underneath or buried in the tunnel. You don't want all that flashing light. So let's get this thing built. All right, so unplug them. So we start, let's take this apart, this area. All right. The plug has to go down below. So here's the plug. That'll get plugged in underneath. There's holes in the bottom for these legs to go through if they don't line up perfectly with the ends. There's a notch on the end here. Sometimes it sits there, sometimes here. So we'll go through that center hole on this one and put the straight piece in. This one, oops. We're gonna go through this hole. This one actually has 2 holes in it. So we're gonna go through this back hole. There we go. All right. Then we just line the track up with the center of the hole, making sure we have space for our train to get by. All right. And we put do a little test. That will work. A couple screws to hold them in place. Perfect. All right, one more thing done. Now we're going to go work on the river. So let's get to it. All right, first things first. We need to put the shower drain. It's just a shower drain, nothing fancy. Had 2 little tabs here, I cut them out. So a pipe can go in there and a pipe can go in there. All right. So shower drain. So we go, this gasket goes over here. Goes through here. Okay, nice and tight, nice and tight. All right. So this 3-inch pipe, it's 3 inches plus 1.5 inches, goes down in this drain. So it goes all the way down in here, and we're going to silicone around that. The first thing we're going to do though is put the extension on the bottom. All right. So we're going to put a piece of wood up here to protect our green grass. And we are going to use PVC cleaner. I use clear. I go until the red ink is gone. Okay, close that up. All right, now we're going to use PVC glue, just a generic all-purpose glue. Make sure the cleaner is dry. You're going to push in and twist and hold. Give it about 10 to 15 seconds. Make sure the glue is set up really good. Okay, now it won't push out. All right, before we put this in, well, let's close this up. That stuff stinks. We're going to take some silicone, just multi-purpose silicone, 100% waterproof. Put a couple dabs down here. All right, it just keeps things from shifting. All right. We're going to take our tub, put it through the hole, set it in there, and give it some weight. Just use these big weights. Anything you have laying around will work. All right. We are now set in place. It has to dry. But while we're doing that, we can also put this piece in. All right. It goes right in there, and we're going to silicone around that. Okay. We're also going to silicone, around the edge, and I'm going to build it up quite a bit, but in layers. We're not going to do it all at one time. Okay. All right, step one of the river build is complete. Easy. You can see here, I put a level across. There's a slight gap. That's to allow the water to flow into this pipe before it flows over. Now, this is last year's river. You can see I have some notches cut in it. Once we start playing with the water, determining how high it really should be, we cut notches, maybe drill a hole, let a little extra water flow in so it isn't going so high. But now you basically have this. You have a piece sticking up, a piece sticking down. This gets attached to another pipe that goes to the reservoir. You can see my caulk mess in here. It's a lot. I'm going to do probably 2 more nights of caulk on that. I like to do a coat, let it dry, do another coat, let it dry. If you put too much, it just takes forever for it to dry. So give it time. take your time. There's no rush. I do a little bit here and then I'll work on other things on the garden. So this isn't my priority every night. All right, tomorrow I think we're going to start on the upper river. We're going to get that PVC cut, glued together, and in place. So I'm going to bed. See you tomorrow. Okay, first step. We're going to build the upper river now. It's going to start back here and wrap around this mountain. I've located this platform, made sure it's relatively straight with the back to where I want it. I've run the train underneath, it fits. So let's take this off carefully. And the first thing we're going to do is anchor all of these. Might be a little loud. I leave about 1/8 of an inch between the wall and the platform, so if it moves, it doesn't rub all the paint off the wall. 2 screws in the top of each 2x4. Probably excessive, but that's what I do. Okay, that's in place. Solid, not going anywhere. Now, we build the river. I did a mock-up. I took some measurements. You probably already saw that. I can't remember. The river is made out of this upper river, 3-inch PVC that's been cut in half. Nothing fancy, just a circular saw. Just be careful, wear eye protection. The corners are 3-inch PVC fittings that have just been cut in half. I did this on a miter saw. Again, use clamps, be careful. I cut the first piece. It's going to rest on this platform. There's a notch right here. And it's going to come out and turn at a 90 degree. So I'm going to prime with PVC primer and glue, just with an all-purpose glue. Right there. Then once I do that, I have these fancy little blocks of wood that I'm going to lay down here in the bottom, and we're going to put a clamp on it. I'm going to bring it closer so you can see it. Takes a little finagling to get the first piece started, but after that, it's all downhill. All right, so it's going to look like this. All right, now, that's my first piece. Problem is, as you go downhill, this plumbing fitting is leaning this direction. So what I need to do is rotate it slightly. You have to do this before you glue, obviously. All right, so I rotated it just a little bit so you can see the difference now. This piece is lower, this piece is higher. So that when we continue down the river now, this fitting is actually level. If you don't do the fitting, you can always add some silicone and then adjust it with your next piece of PVC. And then we're going to come to the corner. Oops. And the corner is a 45. Again, just a plumbing fitting. Easy. Just have to measure the distance between. Now, I've already cut some supports. Again, I mocked it all up, so I'm pretty sure at the different heights. After you mock it up and you have everything about level, put some black lines with a marker on the inside so that while you're gluing up, you know exactly where things are supposed to be. All right. Gloves. glue is miserable when it gets on there. All right, I've messed up. This is a 1 inch too high. So I want to lower everything down 1 inch, all of these supports. And that will help me with the fall onto the water wheel. So I'm going to tear this apart real quick, lower it down, and we'll move on. All right, here's the upper river with all the silicone freshly in place. Around the back is where the water will come in. And then as you go around the corner, all of these uprights have been siliconed to the PVC extremely neatly, as you can see. And if I get back, you can kind of see the fall. You can definitely see the fall. And I used a larger caboose to make sure we had good clearance. I probably could have come down another 3/4 of an inch. Then we come around to the flume, which is also siliconed in place, and that will be cleaned up a little bit. And there you have it. Plenty of supports. All right, we're back. All right, I've laid down a couple of these 2x6s because that represents kind of the size of the river. Trying to figure out where I want to go. I cut some rough pieces of wood, so we'll put those in place now. Trying to nail down where this river is going to go. So at about this level, it should be about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches. It's going to go on a slight angle. The next piece, I think it was this one, and that's going to be about 3.5 inches high. And the last piece goes all the way to the top, at about that height right there. That end has to come down maybe a little bit. And then I'll cut another leg for here, clean up some of these joints. There'll be a place here for something small as well, like a building or something. And then we'll put some screws in this, get it all anchored in place, and then we put the river on top, which is made out of sheet metal. I've always just winged it. I'm not sure how you say that. This year I'm going to do a template because I think that's going to be easier for other people to do. So I'll show you how to do that. That should hold. All right, that is it for the base. I noticed you saw that I stopped short. The sheet metal will flow right across that and then roll in. You won't even miss that. We're a little low at the top, and that's intentional. I'm gonna have a little drop off when it comes out of that river. I didn't plan it, I just thought it would look neat, so that's what we're gonna do. All right, let's make a template. We're gonna do this on the floor when we cut the tin. Be careful, it's sharp. Wear gloves. All right, we're gonna start. It's just some paper I found. Heavy, kind of heavy paper. We're just going to outline the river. All right. Just gonna put a little piece of tape here to hold it in place. All right, now where we come out of this hole, I want it to be about 7 or 8 inches wide. So we're just going to guesstimate that. And then that's the termination, where it turned. Put a little crease here where it turns up. All right, and then let's move on to the bottom. All right, we have our template. Let's go down on the floor, lay it out on our sheet metal and trace it. Okay, we're completely traced on this part of the river. We'll have to do the other part with another piece of metal. I put a line on the paper indicating where we stopped tracing. Now, that's the bottom. You have to bend it up to create the walls. So I normally bend it up 1 1/4 inches. So I'll measure over 1 1/4. Come down to the bottom, 1 1/4, and then I add 1/4 of an inch. All right, so we'll draw some straight lines for that, including the edge of the river. I want that nice and straight. All right, so we got 1, 2, and 3. And it'll all make sense in a minute. So let me do the rest of these. 1 1/4 inches. Okay, I have everything traced out. The base of the river, the wall of the river, this little 1/4 inch gets bent over and creates a smooth top edge, but it also gives it strength so it doesn't wobble and get weak. So the first thing we have to do is cut out the bigger line. All right, there's a bunch of ways to cut this. I just use tin snips, right-handers. I find it easier than the straights. Bend this up as you're cutting. Makes life a lot easier. Okay, here's your basic piece. This part goes up near the water wheel. This is towards the bottom. First thing I want to do is bend this 1/4 inch in, and then we'll tap on it with a hammer. Now, you can do this with just a hammer and a piece of 2x4. I happen to have these little benders. You don't need them. So I'm going to make a little cut right here. That way it will bend. All right, all of our edges are bent, much safer. Now we have to bend the other line, which creates the wall. Again, we're gonna have to split it at the corners. Now on the outside corners, when you turn them up, you get a little extra. On the inside corners, and they'll overlap. On the inside corners, you will not have enough metal to make a corner. We'll have to add a piece. And there you have it. That is your basic river pan in any shape you want to make. I still have to cut right here and here. This is where it turns up to go into the water wheel. That's not going to work, is it? And then we'll go dry fit it, and I'll cut whatever I need to cut to make it fit perfectly. All right, so now I'm going to add, as I said, I have to add a piece here in the corner, a piece in this corner. Maybe screw these together. So let's get that done. I did end up putting a 45 on this end just to make the river look more natural. Now this one goes under. You always put your joints, just like a rain gutter or anything else, the water flows over. That way it doesn't go, it can't go in here. All right, and there you have the rough idea of how to build a river support, river pan. Next step is we need to put some dabs of silicone on the wood, put the tin on the wood, let that set up overnight, 24 hours. Then we're going to come back and we're going to caulk all these joints. Anywhere where there's a screw, anywhere where we put an extra piece of metal. We're going to fill this little piece in here. Once all of the caulking, silicone sets, we'll come back and do the concrete. That's the fun part. You have to make sure it's perfectly level, and we'll get there. All right, I've made a couple adjustments. I put these corners in, like I said I was going to. You saw that before. I also added some corners up here. Got everything right where I want it. It is time to glue it and screw it in place. Never put a screw through the bottom. At least I don't. I also wouldn't recommend using this metal if it's long term, more than 2 or 3 years. This will rust over time. Figure out another way. Maybe cover it with roofing tar or some kind of, I don't know, maybe Flex Seal. There you go. Not a sponsored ad. All right. Lots of silicone. There's a little uneven space here. I'm trying to build it up with silicone. Okay, I also made up these little pieces of metal, just like you saw, with a little hook on them. I can hook them over the edge and put a screw in to the side of the plywood as a temporary anchor while things set up. All right, let's do the bottom. Do the bottom half. This one goes underneath of that one, about that far. And I ran out of silicone. I'm gonna go grab some more. All right, what kind of bad jokes did Corey tell you this time? All right. So we're gonna put a bunch of silicone in here. I want it to, forgot to open it. Over it, press down. Just need some weight. This should do the job. All right, there you have it. Start to finish tonight. It took me about 3 hours. It's not too bad. It's really easy. You just have to take your time. Make sure everything is level so the water doesn't all flow to one side or the other. When it gets to the corner, you kind of want to bank it up a little bit. Practice, 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 and you will get the hang of it. I promise you, I will have a leak. I don't know where, but I'll have a leak. Figure it out, you fix it, you move on. Have fun with it. Frustrating sometimes, but you have to do it. All right, next step, we are going to put the next step, we're going to silicone everything tomorrow, 24 hours from now. Give it about maybe 2 days to really cure good before I put concrete in all of this. And then it's time for water. All right. Okay, we are done with the first coat of silicone. I'm sure you saw how I did these corners. I tried to cover the screw and everything and work it in. You can't just apply silicone with a caulk gun and walk away. You have to smear it in there a little bit. I also do the backside just in case there is a leak. Maybe, maybe that'll stop it, hopefully. Oh, I missed that right there. Ooh, that was bad. That would have been a leak. Glad I saw that. All right, I'm gonna get you a quick tour up close so you can see what it really looks like. All right, here we are at the top of the river. You can see we have plenty of silicone holding this in place. It is not going anywhere. Inside, we've PVC glued and caulked all the joints. As you move down the river, they're all caulked with 100% pure silicone. And when we get to the flume, you can see how much caulk I use for a dam. I know it's excessive. I know. Have you ever had a flood in your basement? I'm sure a lot of people have, but did you cause it? Again, a lot of caulk, even on the outside. It's not pretty, I know, but nobody will ever see it, except you. There's the joint. So this is one piece of sheet metal and it goes all the way to here. So it's about a 3-inch overlap. And then we come down and the sheet metal rolls into below the top, about 2 inches below. All right, let's go underneath. All right, this is a really tough shot. I'm sorry, it's just awkward. We're on the bottom of the lake, the bottom lake. This is where the water comes down. It goes into this big tub. This is all my parts. All right, Part number 1 is the pipe that comes down. So it's just a piece of 2-inch PVC with a Fernco plumbing fitting. It's just a rubber fitting. It has clamps. I have this so I can remove it to get this in and out if I have to. So the first thing we have to do is put this on. Oh, and before we do that, sorry, this pipe goes inside. And what that does, it helps avoid splashing and it quiets it down a lot. And that just sits in there. Okay, tighten those up. All right, that is done. Now, to get this water back to the top, 2 pumps. They're just pond pumps. This one is 330 gallons a minute. This goes to the lower river. It's much bigger. This one is 325 gallons. It goes to the upper river. It has a much smaller outlet. So we have 2 different pipes here. Tubes, vinyl tubes. Sometimes they're hard to get on. This one's going on, that's good. All right, then we just put this right in. Now I'll bring power over to hook the cords up to. So then we're going to come out of there. We're going to go through our straps. Like that. All right. And then we'll drill a hole. We'll go up top, drill a hole, and I'll show you how we hook it up top. Same thing with the little one. This pipe is usually much harder to get on. I lied. It went right on. All right. So we drop that one in and do the same thing again. Now I know I showed you this in the video where I toured the river, but these are just clamps. They came off something I bought. It held something up like a tiki torch or something on a deck. But these ultimately go right on this pipe, and then I can meter the water and slow it down a little bit or speed it up. And I have a second one for this other one. So let's fish this pipe, this tube through. This goes to the upper river. So I think we are going to go this way. All right, so we're done under here until we fill it with water. Let's go up top and take a look at how I hook them in the 2 different areas up top. All right, our first pipe comes through here. It's the larger one. Have a paddle bit set up. We're going to go right about maybe here. All right, let's push the pipe up through. All right. So now we have it up top. We want to anchor it right about there. I can always cut a little off. We're going to use plumbing strap. This is a vinyl plumbing strap. Has holes drilled in it already. Cut a little piece of it off. This will make sense, promise. If it confuses you, go look at the video titled, I Built a River in My Basement. And it kind of shows you everything as I'm taking it down. But now we're going to push this down and we're going to silicone this really good. And then tomorrow we can just trim off the excess. All right, let's do the top river. Now up here, I'm going to put silicone under it before I start because it's flat on the bottom and I don't want water to go backwards. It's sticking in there about 3 inches. And now we build a wall. And there you have it. And just in case you're curious, yes, I always go overboard on everything. All right, step 1 for concrete, protection. Put down some paper. All right, we're back out in the garage to make a mess. We're gonna mix some concrete for the river. All right, I just have some sand to mix and some standard, well this is high strength, but basic ready mix concrete. So we're gonna just mix these 50-50 because this is what I have left over from a project. Start with some water, fancy shovel. Now if you don't know, sand mix has a lot less stones, and the stones it has are much smaller. So it's easier to work with on a small project. Maybe a little too much water. That's all right. I think we got it. That's about what you're looking for, something that will hold its shape but will still move. All right, before we start this concrete in the river, I had to make a few changes. This tube on the upper river, I had it sitting flat on the bottom and siliconed it in. I don't know what I was thinking. Once I fill this up with concrete, that would block it. So I came back, I used this piece of wood, raised it up, put a piece back here, raised it up. So that's all dried, ready to go. I also moved the tube on the lower river. So that tube used to be up here. I moved it back here so that it was a more gentle curve up into the bottom river. All right. So we've mixed up our concrete. It's time to get busy. All right, there is no exact science to this. Sometimes a little torpedo level can help. It lets you know which side of the river's high or low. Right now, it's almost perfect. A little piece of wood to move the concrete around, some gloves. I find it best just to use my hands. So you have the gist of it. Try to keep it level so the water doesn't flow to one side or the other. Try to keep it up on the sides. It hides the edge of the pipe. And you have to keep playing with it a little bit until it starts to dry up a little bit to get it just where you want it. And then we're going to move to the lower river. Same idea, it's just bigger. And there's one other trick down there I need to show you with straws. All right, it's out to the garage, make a little more concrete for the lake, and we're done. I'm sure you noticed I'm cutting these straws and putting them in here. I pushed them all the way into the corners to create weep holes. For some reason, only on the bottom river, the water likes to come up between the metal and the concrete. It's like a capillary action, anything to get stuck underneath. So I put these relief holes in. I've always drilled them in the past. I've never actually used straws. So this is an experiment that you're watching. All right, let's go make some more concrete for the bottom lake, and we are done. All right, we're back with load number 2. Let's do the lake. This one's a little easier. All right, I think that is it. I'm going to leave it sit for about half an hour, come back and check on it and make sure things are where they belong before it sets up permanently. And then tomorrow, 24 hours from now, we'll take up all this protection, maybe run some water, see what kind of floods we get. All right, that's it. All right, here we are. 24 hours has passed. I came back about 2 hours after putting the concrete in and took all of this out. I was able to keep it on a steeper angle, get it up near the top. It looks much better once it's stiffened up a little bit. Just took a lot of weight out. It's basically what we did. So now it's time to clean it up, try to pull these straws out, get rid of everything, and then put up some mountains. So here we go. There you have it. The river is done. I have to do the backside, but you've seen the front. It's pretty simple. This line up here, occasionally you can see the metal. We'll put some bushes in there, some lichen. Put trees all over this. It'll all blend in. It's going to look pretty good when it's all done. All right, I think I'm going to give you a quick tour of everything, and then I'm going to pour some water in. We're not going to run pumps, but I'm going to pour some water just to see what happens. All right, let's get to it. Look at that. All right. Looks like it's flowing down the middle. Well, not there. It's going to the side. Down into the basin. Okay, so far everything looks level. Things are flowing nicely. I didn't need my extra water. We got a nice flow going now. All right, success so far. Takes time though to find the leaks. This is going to be river test number 1, top and bottom pump going at the same time. I just need to be careful about the water height over here on this. Uh-oh, that's not good. There it is. On this white pipe. I will notch it as I need to keep this water level low. We're getting really close to where it should be, but we need to keep an eye on it. I'm not sure if you can see the stuff floating in here, but that's why I'm working out of a 5-gallon bucket and not the reservoir. I'll let this go into the reservoir and then I'll shop vac it out so we don't get dirty stuff in the pumps and wreck the pumps. All right, let's go. We are plugged in. All right, lower's running. Upper is running. Now we just need to keep an eye on the volume in the lower river.